So the first diet and nutrition myth that we're going to tackle is the macrobiotic diet. So I know this diet is sometimes recommended for cancer survivors on websites, on blogs. And just to tell you a little bit about it, it's based on Zen Buddhism. So it's not just about the diet, but it's about a whole kind of program of spirituality and living in balance. And so the diet focuses on trying to balance the yin and the yang, or the kind of both sides of the diet. And so mainly it uses a lot of brown rice and whole grains as the basis of the diet. So about 50 to 60% of each meal is brown rice. And then incorporates about 20 or 30% vegetables and a little bit of protein, mostly from soy foods. So in theory, sounds like a pretty healthy diet. The pros of this diet are it's mostly vegetarian. You can have fish a couple times a week. As well, it focuses on choosing local whole foods over, processed foods and imported foods. So trying to connect with nature in that way is a nice thing that we like to do here at the Elixir Kitchen as well. Now, the thing about this diet is, as I said, the types of foods that it includes are quite limited. So by eating mostly brown rice and soy, there's some concerns about the minerals that you're going to be lacking in your diet. Because brown rice, in particular, contains some compounds called phytates that make it difficult for you to absorb things like calcium and iron from your diet. So that's why, as dietitians, we often recommend trying to get a variety of different foods in your diet. We don't want to have too much of one thing because you're going to miss out on other important nutrients. The other thing is, for a cancer survivor, someone going through treatment, and most of us, this diet doesn't really give us enough protein. So, being vegetarian, there's a lot of research showing that it can promote some health benefits. It may help to prevent cancer. Vegetarians tend to have a lower body weight as well, and we know that body weight is an important thing to keep in mind with cancer. But it's that protein piece that's really lacking, and focusing mainly on whole grains and having less vegetables is not the right ratio that we want to go for. So really trying to maximize the fruits and vegetables. And the other thing with this diet is it recommends having fruit and nuts and seeds and really healthy foods very rarely. So, like I said, you can have the fish a couple times a week. Nuts and seeds are a great source of healthy fats and proteins, but they're very limited on this diet, and I don't see any reason for it. There's really no science behind limiting these foods. And one interesting thing with the macrobiotic diet is it comes in different stages. So as you get more enlightened and go up to the higher stages of the diet, it becomes more and more restrictive and cuts out more and more foods. So you can be at risk of being deficient in calcium, vitamin B12, iron, which is a really important one to keep your energy levels up, to prevent iron deficiency anemia. So really, we want to take some of the good parts of this diet and feature a recipe today that changes that ratio of the whole grains to the vegetables, so we're increasing the vegetables more, add some extra protein to it, and we're going to feature a different grain than brown rice. So we're not saying brown rice isn't healthy, it's very healthy, but we're going to make a recipe with barley just to add some variety with the nutrients that you're going to be getting.
So off to our first recipe. So I think it's right on the back page. It's called the Buddha's.
We're going to go backwards in our order today.
The Buddha's Barley Bowl. Not that great at titling recipes, as you may have noticed. So the idea is that we're using that component of a lot of vegetables, but we're going to mix it up. We're going to balance it out a little bit more for you here. So, like all of the recipes, guys, use them as a template. Use them, as a kind of structure to build your own recipes, but use whatever ingredients that you like, whatever's available, whatever's seasonal, local, especially now in the summer would be great. This we took kind of that Buddha, so almost like that Asian-inspired vegetable selection. So we have some amazing bok choy, napa cabbage, a little bit of red onion. Again, whatever you like, you add. We're doing this in papillon style. So that's just a fancy French cooking term for cooking in paper, which doesn't sound as nice. But what you're going to do is use a piece of parchment paper. This is a great way to cook vegetables. It's a great way to cook proteins like fish. It's a clean way, so you don't have to do too many dishes after, which is fantastic. And it's a healthy way. because what we're going to do is we're going to create a pocket of steam and flavor. And when we bake it into the oven, all of that moisture inside of the package is going to cook the fish and stay inside. So you get a really nice, clean way of cooking ingredients.
Beautiful way to steam your veggies. You don't have to add a lot of oils like you would with more of a stir-fry method. And sometimes people are concerned even with steaming, especially with boiling your vegetables. A lot of the nutrients get lost in the water. Here you're keeping everything within, so you're not losing any of those important phytochemicals, vitamins, and minerals.
So the key is, for your entire length, and cut a pretty good size of parchment paper, you want to pile all those veggies on the middle section of the bottom half. That come out right?
No. I'm confused. Where's the bottom?
So the bottom. So you would imagine that you can fold it over after and create your parchment, right? So the half,
gotcha.
half of that sheet, you're gonna pile it in the center. That's okay. Right? I think you guys get it. You'll see it.
Do as he does, not as he says.
Yes. So again, I got some carrots, some bok choy, some napa cabbage, some red onion, whatever flavors you like in there. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of moisture. So you can use rice wine vinegar, you can use a little bit of lemon juice. I've got some lime juice here. So that's gonna go in there. Now there's a lot of moisture already in your vegetable, so you don't need too much. You don't want to drown it in liquid. You're going to see a lot of liquid actually start to develop, and you're going to develop this nice little sauce in there. Some red chili, if you like, on there. Again, if you don't like heat, don't add heat. These red chilies aren't that spicy, so if you like a little bit of heat, this has a really nice fruitiness to it. So, a couple slices in there would create a lot of flavor. And so that's the idea. We want to create flavor. We want to maximize flavor without needing too much fat or too much salt. So just a little pinch of salt, just a little touch of olive oil.
The nice thing about oils is oftentimes people try to cut them out to reduce calories, and because we hear, too much fat may not be good for you. But actually, a lot of the cancer-fighting chemicals that are within fruits and vegetables can only be absorbed with a little bit of fat added to them. So things like your beta carotene, we talk about a lot. It's a fat-soluble antioxidant that turns into vitamin A in your body. And without just that little drizzle of olive oil or some nuts and seeds, some healthy fats, you won't be able to absorb as much of those cancer-fighting nutrients.
So now to make the parchment, pretty easy. You just fold it over the top half so that your two edges meet each other. And then from the one open side, I'm not really good at this because I'm not really good at arts and crafts, but you're going to crimp and fold over the edges. And you just keep kind of folding it over. Can you guys see that? So you keep just folding it over to make that seal. You press down. You can do this. It's a lot easier if with aluminum foil. I know some people do with aluminum foil. I'm not a big fan of cooking in aluminum foil. I find that the parchment, you get a much cleaner taste. There's really nothing added to it. So not wax paper. And it's, some people, I've used it because it looks the same sometimes. It burns in the oven, so don't use wax paper.
And it gets waxy.
Yeah, and it gets waxy.
With the aluminum foil, if you're going through chemotherapy or you've been through chemotherapy and still have that metallic taste with certain foods, then going with the parchment paper rather than the aluminum foil can be a good strategy.
So that's it. So you just kind of keep crimping over. The idea is you want to create a nice seal so that none of that steam releases. You want to contain that steam, contain those flavors, those juices and everything. So once you have your package, onto a baking sheet, and that's going to go into the oven about 375 for about 15-20 minutes. It depends. If you like your vegetables very soft, then you cook them a little bit more. I like them with a little bit of crunch still in them. So for me, 15 minutes is perfect. So that goes into the oven. I'll take one of the finished ones out. Here. So we have our veg ready to go. Our barley, now we use barley today. I mean, like Christy was saying, a little bit of brown rice, a little bit of barley, mix it up a little bit. Don't always try to stick to the one grain. So barley is a really, really nice grain. Super easy to cook. Probably most popular in soups, but it's fantastic in salads. So with barley, you just, simple instructions, put it in a pot, cover it with water about 2 inches above, bring it to a boil, reduce, and I think I have the instructions there, but reduce, and let it sit for about 10 minutes and then just turn off the heat. And while you do the rest of your ingredients, it'll finish up. And then you can kind of take it out.
The nice thing about the barley is it contains different nutrients than the brown rice. So like Jeremy was saying, go for the variety so that you have all of your bases covered. The barley contains more zinc and more folate compared to brown rice, and 4 times as much fiber per cup. So we know that fiber is very important for a number of reasons, helps prevent colon cancer as well.
So now I'm going to show you a really quick dressing. This is good for even just regular salads, for anything. And we're going to start off with some ginger. So as you saw I was doing there, just use a spoon and you can kind of scrape off the skin. That's kind of like the easiest way I found without you losing too much of the ginger. Comes off pretty easy. So throw that out. And you can either chop it up really fine. One of my favorite tools I always talk about is the rasp, or microplane is another name for it. This is great for grating ginger. You can find them for like $15, and garlic, zest of citrus fruit. And what it does, which is nice, is it takes out all those little stringy bits, and it just gives you the pulp and the juice.
I don't think we can talk about the macrobiotic diet without talking about the flavor, or lack thereof, with flavor. We were chatting about the diet earlier on before we got started here today, and doesn't use a lot of spices. Very few herbs are incorporated. There's some miso and some mushrooms and things like that, which give a really nice flavor to things, but definitely more of a bland diet. And we know that trying to incorporate more herbs and spices, not only is that going to make your meal taste better and going to stimulate your appetite more, but we also did a few classes here at the ELLICSR Kitchen on herbs and spices and their cancer-fighting properties and all of the minerals and phytochemicals that are within them as well. So from my point of view, I don't think there's any reason to, try to make your diet more bland, unless there's certain ingredients that upset your stomach. Not everybody can handle spicy food, but there's no reason why you can't incorporate some of the more mild herbs into your diet.
For sure. So, got the ginger in there, and I'm using a little mason jar here. This is kind of a little trick I love to use when I'm making dressings, and I'll show you why in a second. You can use Tupperware, anything with a good seal. So, I've got my ginger in there, lime juice, a little bit of lime juice, a little bit of, this is just rice vinegar, the unseasoned one, you just want the regular one. And I just have a little bit of grapeseed oil in there. And we're going to add a little bit of our miso. Now, miso is like a fermented soybean paste, most commonly in miso soup, you would find it. And it has this really nice umami, savory flavor that just adds up just an explosion of flavor. Really, really good. Without needing to add too much other sodium or salt. It has already some salt in it. So just a little bit, and you don't need much.
And this is one part of the macrobiotic diet where they emphasize trying to have a bowl of miso soup each day. And as we said before, incorporating more soy products. And I know there's a lot of research, or confusion, I should say, out there about soy during cancer, especially if you have a hormone-related cancer. And so we know from looking at research over years and years, there's been many studies done. And basically, the recommendation is you can include 2 servings of soy products in your diet each day without having an effect on estrogen levels, without increasing your risk of cancer coming back. Ooh, just threw a knife. So there's also some evidence that soy might have a protective effect, but not enough is known about that, and there's a lot of variables that seem to affect it. A lot of these studies look at Japanese females, and so they've been having soy throughout their whole lives, so it's difficult to know if we were to up our intake now, if it's not something we're used to, whether it would be as protective, but definitely a nutritious food that can be a part of your diet.
Sorry if that was a little distracting. So that's the beautiful thing about doing your dressing in little mason jar or a Tupperware, is you get to shake the hell out of it after. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to force the oil and the acids and the vinegars together. They naturally don't like to be together. We want them to be together because that's going to give us a really nice balanced flavor, really nice balanced, even dressing, and it's going to create this creaminess as well without needing to add any other fat or mayonnaise or anything like that. So just shake away until it comes together and you can kind of see there's no more separation. It's one even dressing. So our dressing is ready. Taste it. It smells amazing. Taste it, season it to your liking, and then we're ready to plate. So our package of veg, and this one here, get another knife. I actually put a little piece of salmon as well. So we talked about the importance of protein. Now you can keep it strictly vegetarian, and you have a little bit from the barley, but you can put very
little,
right?
It's not a complete protein though. So
you can put beans.
You'd want to incorporate some beans. You can add some nuts or seeds to this recipe as well, just to make sure you're getting a complete protein. Or the macrobiotic diet, like we said, does include a couple servings of fish. They focus more on white fish, so you're going to be missing out on some of the omega-3s that come from your fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, trout. So you want to definitely incorporate those into your diet to make sure you're getting some of those anti-inflammatory fats.
And so the veg is cooked really nicely in there. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have it in there for too long. You have a really nice piece of salmon. And what's nice about it is, if I didn't cut it in here, you just throw this away. You wipe this down. You don't have to clean anything, which is good.
No mess is very zen. So this definitely fits within the macrobiotic diet.
Right.
So here.
Well, I'm going to toast it. Actually, yeah. Like Chrissy said, it's nice to add a little bit of toasted seeds. So we've got some toasted almonds, a little bit of toasted sesame seed on top, a little bit more protein.
Beauty.
And a nice little crunch as well. And that's it. It's very easy. The longest part of this recipe is cooking the grain. Once you have that done, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the oven, and you're good to go. Oh, the dressing. I forgot about the dressing.
Definitely more nutritionally balanced than you would see. I was mentioning before the macrobiotic diet has different levels that you can kind of climb up to become more yin and yang. The highest level is eating only brown rice and water. So you can see that would be very, very restrictive. It's something that even natural health practitioners don't recommend anymore. But there's certain aspects of the diet that you can use as a basis. The whole grains, having more vegetarian meals more often are all good ideas. But just keep in mind you want to keep things nutritionally balanced as much as possible. So there's our balanced Buddha bowl.
Right.